All right, hey guys, we're back. It's Ted Bogert with the Ted Show, and the one and only Dr. Kris Sargent, who is someplace loud, I guess. It doesn't sound that bad, Kris, yet, so don't worry about it.
Okay.
We are here with our series Spark Faith, and this topic is so near and dear to my heart. Why your blood work comes back normal when you still feel like ish. And so
I
we're going to
know.
talk to Kris about that. That's what our show's about today. Kris, welcome.
Thank you. So why don't you tell me a little bit about your story so then I can flip it for you?
I would love to share my story.
There's a whole lot of reasons.
This is the accountability show right here. I'm going to ask you to run my blood work because
okay.
I have high. I'll tell you my story. I have a high thyroid. My thyroid number antibodies are off the charts.
Got it. Okay, Hashimoto's.
But because one number on one of the traditional tests doesn't jive, they won't give me the diagnosis of Hashimoto's, which is basically probably what it's going to come down to, or something similar. And they just keep wanting to run the same blood work over and over again, I think, until they get the result where the third little tier says, oh, this makes sense. So I'm very frustrated. I know that I also have vitamin deficiencies. I have been tested for a little bit of that before. And I know for a fact that they don't dive deep enough unless you are a pain in the behind advocate for yourself or your loved ones with traditional medicine. My experience.
Totally hear it all the time. I have been ahead of a group that has 5,000 thyroid, mostly ladies, in it on Facebook for the past 4 years. So wow. There are very few. In fact, it was those ladies that really preempted my book writing. Like, they're so incensed, like you, right? Like, why can I not get a good diagnosis? And then once you get the diagnosis, they throw, their pills at you, but they don't offer any other way for you to heal your body of this autoimmune disorder, right?
Correct.
And so it just becomes this horrible cycle of not really getting any answers. And a lot of these ladies are really sick. And I don't mean to just say ladies, because guys get it too. It's just much more.
They're very ill. Well, because nobody can give them the diagnosis. And unfortunately, what we've all learned, if you've been through this, is that much of our amazing medical society, there's a lot of trial and error that still goes on. It's, okay, that doesn't make sense, so we'll cross that off the list. But then there's another 30 things that they're going to try to check because they don't know, because the tests they do, to me, aren't as in-depth as they need.
So that's part of the problem. The other part of the problem is they're not trained to look for this and this and this and this. They're trained to look for this set on an algorithm, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And anybody who's taken even basic biology has to understand that every human is different, and we don't read the textbooks. We don't always look exactly like what you learn in medical school. You have to open up to all the potential options that somebody else's DNA is going to throw at you.
Yes. I agree. And
I think it's a giant issue.
And even like, for example, when I got diagnosed with cancer, my initial blood work came back fine. And just something, listening to your body, I'm sure it could be an entire series, but something told me that there still wasn't something right. And so I pushed again. And that's when we finally led to the numbers being what I assumed they would be, because I wasn't feeling right. And then that's how they found the cancer so early. But I think you, again, have to go back to being your advocate on this. And a lot of people, because of health insurance, they feel like they don't have the ability to go there.
We have to go down that health insurance line, because the challenge with health insurance is they're set up like the medical doctors. So if this then you can, if this comes back positive, then you can do this, 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 and this.
Yeah.
And we'll pay for it. But if this comes back negative, you don't get those tests run. And so, and yet these are the deeper tests that actually go wrong sometimes before this main test.
Correct.
So like the thyroid can become very dysfunctional in the amount of T3 or T4 or reverse T3 or T3 uptake. Those tests are never done. Almost never done until thyroid stimulating hormone, which really has to do with brain function, not thyroid function necessarily, not necessarily. I know I can hear all the doctors going, but it's a feedback loop. I'm aware. They don't always have to talk to each other though.
Right.
And so the thyroid stimulating hormone comes back normal, and the range is giant. So until you're way out of the range, it's not going to do any good, and your insurance won't pay for it.
Well, and that's the thing that was frustrating on my thyroid situation, for example. And I still have yet to find an endocrinologist that will actually is it endo? Is that who does that? No. Yes.
Uh-huh.
But will dig deeper, because they keep getting the same result. The two numbers are way out of whack, and the other number is normal. So guess what? The hierarchy, the health insurance says, oh, so you can't go any further until this one's out of whack too.
That's right.
It's very frustrating.
That's right. If you want your insurance to pay for it, then you have to conform, right? But insurance is not about health. And we've had this conversation already, right? Insurance really is about treating you when you're sick. And if they don't think you're sick, then there's nothing to treat.
Right.
So you just, again, you end up in this horrible, vicious, negative circle of never really like, okay, well, my quality of life sucks and I feel horrible and I can't get my stuff done and my family's missing out. Like, that's terrible.
It's terrible. So what do we do? How do we, if we get blood work and they come back and they say, Kris, you're in great shape. You have the heart of a 10-year-old. I don't know, all the stuff that they say. What do you do when you know you don't? How do you push back? And if that doesn't work, what are your alternatives?
To be honest, I mean, you can keep pushing and maybe you'll get some tests, but they're not going to know how to read it. And because they're just not trained in nutrition, they're not trained to look for your deficiencies unless they're completely obvious. They learn the recommended daily amount, which is actually the minimal amount you need to be alive. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to just be alive.
No.
Like, I need to thrive. I want to bust out, right? Like, so the RDA and all of those measurements, standard vitamin stuff is like to keep your body alive and functioning on the planet. That's it. It's not really to help you thrive, or how about resist the stress that we have in this country?
Right.
Nothing to do with any of that. And so, you can push back and you may or may not get any answers. Finding a functional doctor who knows how the blood work functions is a first step. IFM, Institute of Functional Medicine, ifm.org. Of course, I am one. And I think that the other way is, there's a mindset shift that has to happen.
Yes.
And I think that this is the biggest, honestly, it's not about finding the right doctor, because you can find a functional medicine doctor. You have to be willing to invest in yourself. I can promise you, if it is 3 days before the Super Bowl or whatever sporting event that you love, or whatever dance event or whatever your big show thing is that you want to watch, and your flat screen goes out, you will find however many thousands of dollars you need to get that setup all put back together in 3 days. You'll find it, right? Your transmission goes out, you find the money to fix it. Your brakes go out, you find the money to fix it, but your body goes out, and all of a sudden it's somebody else's problem. Sorry, I'm ranting here.
No, I love it. It's true.
But it's
I agree.
like, at what point are you going to be willing to invest in your health?
Right. I think a lot of people want to, I think there is, we've talked about this before, people are intimidated by healthcare in general. They're afraid, and then they're intimidated, and then the doctor, which society's created very much, a very godlike structure and feeling. And so you just are like, okay, well, he just told me I had 3 months to live. I guess that's all I have. I would never take that lying down, but let's minimize it and say, okay, the doctor said, I need to walk another 1,000 steps a day and I'll be fine. And you know you're not going to be fine by walking just another 1,000 steps a day, but you're afraid to say anything.
Yeah, and that's really too bad that we've put our doctors in that position, because they don't really want to be there either. They're I mean, honestly, there's a whole bunch of studies about how unsatisfied physicians are with their job. Can you imagine? You just spent 12 years of your life, you spent $500,000 getting an education, and now you hate your job.
Yeah.
Our general practitioners who see everybody are barely making $100,000 a year. So they can't even pay off their student loans.
And they can't really, we could do a whole series on how my belief is they're not really treating people. There's a whole gamut of insurance codes that you have to fit. And so it's run by big business. It just is what it is.
Is.
You know? It's a challenge for them as well in their psyche and their morale.
Oh yeah, I feel bad for them. I really do. I have a lot of compassion for feeling unhappy in your present job and stuff. But back to labs.
Yes.
Most of it has to do with just their philosophy, right? Their philosophy is, if you are upright, basically, if you can get upright and do your stuff, you can do your activities of daily living. Yes, but I have to drag myself, right?
Correct.
They don't care. They have done their job. Their job is not about thriving. Their job is not about necessarily quality of life. There's always the extremes who, of course, they are, and like hospice and those kind of things.
Sure.
They're all about that quality of life, but that's not what we're talking about here.
No.
We're talking about the average 35 to 60-year-old human who doesn't sleep well at night, who wakes up feeling like they got run over by a truck and still drags themselves through being a dad or being a mom, going to work, going to Costco, walking the dog, doing the thing, right? But all day in the back of your mind, you're like, God, I just want to be horizontal. That's not a way to live. We're in creation mode, right, Ted? You and I create what we want in our life. We create, that's part of the reason I reached out to you, right? I want to create this movement, this revolution in medicine, that people can take control of their medicine, because they can. They can eat, drink, move, sleep, think, and feel. Those are all things that you can control. I know some days that chocolate feels like it just jumps in your mouth, but it doesn't.
Well, some days it's just like anything else. But what you want is, you still want the answers, and you still want to be educated enough and invest in yourself enough to be your best advocate, to find out what works for you. My favorite is, I know people, and I was guilty of it back in the day, I have to say. I jumped from bad diet to fad diet. Oh, look, we can eat as much carbs as we want, just no fat. Remember that one? And so people laugh at me when I tell you that was literally one of the biggest things you could eat. Everything came out fat-free.
Oh my God, was that hilarious?
Carbs it was just insane what you were feeding your body. And I think a lot of my age group is still suffering because of that.
Honestly, our entire country is suffering because of that.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that is what we were taught, and what people probably 5 years, maybe 10 years or 10 years older than us and 10 years younger than us. So we have these 40 somethings to 60 somethings who still think like that.
They do. I still get people. you older and younger people, just Google "Stop the Insanity" Susan Powder. Do you remember her with the big
Oh my
spike?
God, how could I forget?
I mean, I guess. Okay, there you go. Hers is not as spiky, but God, she was the one that said, eat no fat. You just want to eat fat free and da 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 da. Fat makes fat. Well, that's the thing. You still have to research on your own. And now that we
Right.
have this wonderful thing called Google, we can learn a little bit more. It's just that it's very daunting trying to figure out which one works for you.
Right. And there are people who do better with less fat, and there are people who do better with more fat and more protein. It's definitely a sliding scale. There are some basic truths, however. Right. We need to balance our fat, our carbs, and our protein.
Right.
If you're going heavy one way or another, there's like moderation, right? There's potential for issues on either end. My son, he's 15, going to be 16 in March. He has put on, I think, 15 pounds in about 3 months. He meant to, first of all. He's hitting definitely hitting his testosterone explosion because he's 15, right? And he trains 2 to 3 hours a day for baseball. So, geez, trying to keep food in that kid, it's like 5,000 or 6,000 calories a day. I'm like, I eat that much in a month. Right? Like,
Each person, because
that's my 1 week.
situation.
That's my 1 week worth of calories, right? 6,000 calories. So I'm joking, but not much.
It's a lot of calories.
But we're also like, okay, but what is that, right? What do those calories consist of? But it's not Snickers bars. Let me tell you, this kid is eating potatoes and rice and sweet potatoes and vegetables and lean protein and, kind of very, like last night he was like, Mom, I need 1,000 calories. It was 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, okay. He's like, I found, do we have peanut butter? Do we have cocoa powder? Do we have yogurt? I'm like, just throw some ice cream in there, man. Like, whatever. It's 10 o'clock at night. Let's go to bed.
Oh, no. I'll take the ice cream version anytime.
I know, me too, but yeah, no. I'd like to fit in.
But you're right. I mean, I think people need to stop beating themselves up. Everybody's different, which is why what Kris practices, what she does, is just, I don't know, I just feel like it gives
personalized medicine.
Personalized
medicine.
Yes, personalized medicine.
Functional medicine is personalized.
Kris, what if, because of course we have a lot of questions about this, so we'll wrap it up on this. This is really
where all the just throw out the questions. What do you got?
The questions are all about, what if I want my blood work done and I don't live where Kris lives? How can I get this done, and how can I work with her?
Actually, just find me on social media. I can work pretty much anywhere. I've decided to create like some group coaching where we do some individual stuff, just like we would normally do with what you would want as a patient. You don't want everybody to know all your business, right? We've got a mix of group and we've got a mix of personal. So you're going to get your personal plan and have a group to come back to and say, how's this working for you guys? How's this working for you guys? And have support and community. You're not going to have to do this whole thing alone. And then I'm going to be going in doing weekly coaching. And the whole point of this is I realize like I have so much more to tell clients than what they're getting.
Yes.
So most of my clients see me about half an hour every month once we get through the initial 2 or 3 visits. And, we tweak our supplements, we tweak food, we do whatever we need to do to take them to the next level for about 6 or 8 months. And yes, it takes that long for your body to heal. It really does.
Of course.
So get over it. But what they're missing and what I end up saying so many times is like, I keep teaching how to combine your food best for even blood sugar, how to heal adrenals, how to heal your thyroid, how to heal an autoimmune disorder. Like I keep going through all the same material. So if I can do this as a group and I'm teaching 10 people at the same time, I can have weekly, like 3 times a month, like weekly 60-minute sessions where I can teach, we can have live Q&A.
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
you'll still get your personalized once a month kind of thing.
That's
I am
really great.
so excited about this thing. So I'm kicking that off in February.
Can they go to restoreyou.com to get there?
Restore You. Yep, you can go to restoreyou.com. There's just click on you know what? Just get on the phone with me. I'm not intimidating. Hit the explore call button, jump on my schedule. It's so easy. I'm nice. Aren't I nice? I'm nice.
You're very nice.
I'm here to help.
I think you owe you guys selves the consult. You owe yourselves to talk to Kris.
30 minutes free.
Yeah, just give her a shout because I think it's so important if you really want to take your health back, like we're all trying to take so many things back. I think
this is a place you can control. You can't control whatever's happening on the government, right? I just saw the sign. It said, I want to X out, or I want to decline my subscription to 2021. I tried the 7-day free trial and I'm giving it back.
Exactly. I think a lot of people are like, what is happening? Is this going to be a repeat? At least we sort of know what we're getting into. We shall see. All right. Dr. Kris Sargent, why your blood work comes back normal. When you don't feel good, you feel like crap.
Yeah, it's just the way it's being read.
Reach out to Kris. You go to restoreyou.com. That's scrolling across the bottom. Or find her on social media, Dr. Kris Sargent. Thank you so much for being on the show. That was awesome.
That was awesome.
Wherever you're at.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, guys. Reach out to Kris. I know you guys asked me a ton of questions on here. Reach out to her.
Yeah, I'd be happy to answer them.
I'm not the doctor.